privilege to be here before you today because I believe this commission is performing a function of the utmost importance to our nation's future. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to give my perspectives based on my service as Attorney General. We understood from early on in the Clinton administration that terrorism posed a grave threat to Americans on American soil. The bombings of the First World Trade Center, the bombing in the First World Trade Center case took place just before I came into office. I inherited that case. I had the opportunity to be briefed. I had the opportunity to meet with the prosecutors and the agents involved to understand the details and to follow through on the case as it expanded into further investigation involving Sheikh Rahman. I even made the final decision to indict Sheikh Rahman. So it has been an issue that has been with me ever since I first became Attorney General. And I've continued to think back to those days when I made that decision, did not know of the connection with Al-Qaeda, and watched it develop so that by 1998 we understood that it was a terrible threat for this country and that we had to do everything we could to be prepared. Other events followed and they gave me better perspective. But what I think is important for me to do today, Mr. Chairman, is to try to come to the issues so that we can answer the questions of the family, so that we can provide the best advice we can on how we can prevent this for the future. Not talking about blame, not talking about partisan politics. And this commission has done, I think, a wonderful job in terms of trying to get to the issues without the politics involved. I think we owe it to the American people. I think just to set the background, I came into office in March of 1993. There was a change in leadership to come in the FBI. We inherited a situation where there were budget difficulties. We had two major operations underway, systems being designed, the NCIC system and the IAFIS system that were to become very important to the FBI, but they were over budget and behind time. Director Free had to face these situations, and there was much to do. But I think let us look at what needs to be done. First of all, I am so proud of the FBI, the agents that I've worked with. I've seen so many in action. I've seen them do incredible things. I've seen them risk their lives, and I have a profound respect for all the people that I have worked with in the Bureau. But quickly, when I came into office, I learned that the FBI didn't know what it had. We found stuff in files here that the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. And it was obvious that the development of a computer system and a system of automation would be very helpful to it. But it was also important for people to begin to look at manually what they could do to find out what they had and what they didn't have. And we proceeded in that direction. Sometimes I thought we had made progress, but then we'd find something else that we didn't know we didn't have. It was very difficult for the FBI to get that problem solved with Congress's concern about the overruns on the two major projects that preceded it. Director Mueller has had the chance to develop the program. From what I've heard, it's coming online or is online. I'm not sure. But the one recommendation I would make first is that he be given the congressional support and that we find the expertise, if any further is needed, to ensure that that system works correctly, to ensure that agents and others who utilize it know how to utilize it to its maximum capability, that we address the issue of security and understand how we maintain this system, which will be the repository of probably more information than most any other agency could compile on such a diverse number of issues. And I just think that that would be extremely important. Director Free has suggested that there were two other issues that were problems: resources and legal authorities. I think it's important. I checked yesterday with the department, and the best I can read, in the year 2002, he submitted a budget of over $1 billion. I think I asked for an increase for $462 million, of which part of it was, and I can't go further on that. As Director Free pointed out, everybody knows that we're competing for limited resources in the budget process, and people ask for more than they know they're going to receive. But I worked very closely with Director Free to try to make sure that we properly pursued a request that reflected the needs of the Bureau. I checked, and an appeal was taken from 2 items. I think I approved both items. And what I think we need to do is make sure, and Director Mueller may have already addressed this issue, make sure that we provide the FBI with the financial expertise that is necessary in the budgeting process and in the technology process to make sure that we understand the processes of Congress and get it done right. With respect to reprogramming, when I came into office, I was told that the FBI had come out of the Cold War. They now had agents who needed something to do, and that they had been assigned to and were involved in fighting street crime. Well, America has a lot of resources committed to fighting street crime now. Community police officers were hired, other steps were taken, crime is down, and state and local law enforcement can do that, or at least do a very good job of it. If we needed to reprogram, I told Director Free, let's do it and get these people into counterterrorism. If we have a drug enforcement agency, if we need to do it, let's get these people into counterterrorism. Yes, it's sometimes difficult to get reprogramming approval from Congress, but if we have people who work with the Department of Justice, do it the right way, come forward in clear statements, I think we can do a lot more in terms of reprogramming. And if Director Mueller needs support in that area, I think that's important. With respect to sharing, one of the frustrations is that the Bureau, even when it finds that it has something, doesn't share. And it says it doesn't share because the legal authorities prohibit it from sharing. But I haven't been able to find, with respect to the one instance of the 2 who came into this country and how we just missed them, what prevented anybody from sharing. Much of these issues, many of these issues will or have been resolved by the passage of the Patriot Act or other statements, but I think it is extremely important that the director or whoever leads the FBI understands that you've got to repeat the message again and again. And when you institute new programs, and I've seen it now based on some of the steps that I took, you've got to make sure that people understand and are trained in an effective, comprehensive way as to new proposals. Otherwise, there tends to creep in a feeling that, well, I don't have to do this, or that's too much trouble, or it's, if they know how to do it and if we train them right, we can expect far more. They say they can't exchange information with the CIA, but it's all in the context of cases where the FBI and the CIA have been exchanging information. What suddenly prevents them in one situation and not in the other? We can't be selective. Again, we have got to change. And the only 2 limitations that I have seen with respect to the transfer of criminal investigation material to the foreign counterintelligence effort is grand jury and Title III. It had been our impression that with appropriate authority then, we could do that and did that in a number of instances, but that's not an issue anymore. And if there are any issues that linger and remain that say we can't share because of legal authorities, then let's make sure that we've addressed those, and if we haven't addressed them, make sure that we take training steps to do it. I'm not sure that I heard Director Free correctly, but one of the points that I think he made was to the effect that the 1995 direction that I gave by letter, that anybody who had reasonable suspicion that they had foreign counterintelligence information that would be relevant to a criminal investigation should take steps through the letter that I sent to make sure that contact was made with the criminal division. Director Free says that shouldn't apply in counterterrorism cases, but if the FCI people have information that will go to the investigation conviction immediately of the person we're trying to take out of the system, then it seems to me a good thing to do. I don't blame anybody. I'm responsible. And if somebody wants to be responsible, it's going to be me, because I tried to work through these issues while I was Attorney General and time ran out on me, and I want to do everything I can to make sure that we move forward in a spirit of cooperation and in a spirit of thoughtfulness. If there are problems that develop, then I think it's important that we address those and get those clarified. A lot of talk about...
If we could sum up now, because we're getting
A
short
lot
on
of
time.
talk about a new agency. Don't create another agency. The worst thing that you can, or recommend it, the worst thing you can do is create another agency, and then we'll be back talking about whether they can share here or there or what. Let's try to work through it. Director Miller has the competence of so many people. He is a wonderful person. He worked with me when he was the U.S. Attorney in the Northern District of California. He is approaching things in a thoughtful way. Let's back him up and give him the best tools he can to get the job done.